There we go. We're live. I think.
There we go.
Yeah,
We're
that'll be a yes then. Okay. All right. So
Mazouz is happy. He's got his number one crown.
Yeah. Very good. Okay. All right.
I still haven't worked out what all that crown business is about either.
No, indeed. Right. All right. Well, we're ready, I think. So.
Yeah. Ready to go? Off you go.
Yeah. I'm just trying to find the. Oh, where's it gone? List. There. There we go. Ooh, that was close, Nev. Turn it off. Here we go. I think that's working. Here we go. 1 2 1 2. Yes. There we go. We have sound. Love that.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Welcome to episode 561 of the Plain Talking UK podcast. I'm Carlos, and in this week's show, the EU finally sets a start date for UK travellers and other third countries' entry-exit system. Airbus are looking likely to end production of the Airbus A319 Neo, and pilots are to commence industrial action with KM Malta Airlines just in time for the holiday season. In the military this week, the Royal International Air Tattoo sees
We've lost Carlos in the intro there. Okay. That's helpful. Bear with. We'll try and get him back, shall we? Looks like I've lost the whole Zoom call, so bear with me.
Our aircraft from the Airbus factory.
Sorry, it died in the middle of that. I lost you all.
Excellent.
I lost you all. So if you're ready, then it's probably going to just be easier at this point to redo the intro.
Dirk just said, we've lost him.
Yeah. Don't know quite what was that all about. Okay, so we'll go then in 3, 2, 1.
Well, hello and welcome to episode 561 of the Plain Talking UK podcast. I'm Carlos, and in this week's show, the EU finally sets a start date for UK travellers and other third countries' entry-exit system. Airbus are looking likely to end production of the A319 Neo, and pilots are to commence industrial action with KM Malta Airlines just in time for the holiday season. In the military news this week, the Royal International Air Tattoo sees bumper crowds for its 2025 event, and L3 Harris secures the Gulfstream G550 electronic attack contract for the Italian Air Force. We have a brand new quiz for you to have a go at later on in the show with an awesome prize to win. We'll also be hearing from Captain Cruz and Captain Al as they sample some culinary delights in Hamburg when Al visited last week as he collected another A321 XLR aircraft from the Airbus factory. So joining me this week, he's back in the Master Suite studios this week after a break, is of course our resident Matt Smith.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, it's good to have you back in there.
You're very well. It's nice to be back. Thank you.
Good. I know.
Indeed.
Pressing all the right buttons at the right time is always
well, one tries.
thrilling.
One tries. Yeah, absolutely.
But no tech issues. Touch wood. So I think I've done okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I mean last week.
Oh, I see. Yeah, no. It was just it was a simple top and tail, as they call it. Yeah, love that. Well done.
No, it went well. We had a good show last week, didn't we, Dave?
We always have a good show.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah.
And joining us, as always, this week from across the fields and the rivers of the glorious UK countryside is, of course, Neville Bounds.
Well, hello. We've had some good weather this week as well, actually. An occasional bit of rain, but generally speaking, quite nice. I've been doing various things this week. Garden centres, coffee shops, car cleaning, all the stuff that you do when you're retired. That sort of thing. I do notice as well that I'm the youngest person in the coffee shops and the garden centres by a couple of decades as well. Just
see, it depends on where you are, though, Nev. To be fair, because like the nearer to London you get, the age goes down.
That is true. That is true. Yes, no, I agree. Yeah.
I'm going to guess you've also got probably the nicest car in the car park as well, Nev.
I should blooming well hope so.
Well,
I would say
there's lots of Honda Jazzes in the car park because that is the vehicle of choice for the octogenarian.
Are you not tempted by one, Nev?
No.
No. Oh, right. Okay.
Oh,
I think that's an emphatic no, Carlos.
I'm not saying anything.
No. Danger.
Just having visions of being stuck behind one of those vehicles on the way home.
Honda Jazz,
yes. From work at some point in time.
Other old people cars are available, of course.
They're very reliable cars, I'll have you know.
Are they?
Jazz.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
all right. Yeah. Is that what you're aspying to? Is it you're going to give up the Jeep?
Well, I know. I was going to get Gemma one for a replacement car.
Oh,
I think.
fair. Okay, right.
Yeah. She's not him. No, she's not him.
No, good.
And joining us this week, he's back. One of our awesome guests that we have on the show every now and again. When we can entice him back from his busy lifestyle, ferrying around rather large pieces of aircraft. And he has just recently been flying a very special aircraft indeed. Welcome back, John Jester.
Buenos dias from the most northern city in Central America, Miami. Just finished up my annual recurrent training here, and before that, as he said, I was flying the Boeing LCF back and forth around the country and over to Italy and back. So glad to be here. Been a little busy. They tried to get me last week, but that was a non-starter as I was. So again, where I was, I think I was in Italy, but not sure.
You seem to cover most of the world, John. I think every time we speak to you, you've either been to the far east, the far north, the far south, or the far west.
Yeah, this trip was real short. It was over to New York to start, New York to Anchorage, Anchorage to South Carolina, South Carolina to Italy, back to South Carolina, down here to Miami to do my penance and get checked out again for the year. So pretty quick and easy.
Well, thanks for joining us tonight, John. It's always good to have you back on the show. Got some stories that I'm sure you'll be able to comment on this evening. Yes, we obviously you probably would have all seen last week that a certain member of the PTUK team has been doing something rather interesting online. So Armando, as you probably all know, or you may not know, if you don't know, my word, you must have missed it. So most of you will have known of the person called Mr. Beast on social media, on YouTube. I only actually found out relatively, not that long ago about this guy, Mr. Beast, on only through his programs on Amazon. But yes, Armando disappeared for a period of time and was completely incommunicado. He done a challenge with Mr. Beast on his YouTube channel and ended up winning a Hawker 800 BizJet.
As you do.
As you do. But if you've not already seen it, it is on Mr. Beast's YouTube channel, the video of Armando's 100-day challenge being trapped on a private jet, which, I don't think it's too bad a thing, to be fair. I mean, it looked quite nice on there, I thought it was nice.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like anything though, is it? You know, if it's one thing to spend like a week or something in it or whatever, but can you imagine doing that for a whole like 100 days? I can't think of anything worse. Worth saying, by the way, he is going to be chatting to us very soon all about it, so he will be on the podcast to tell us all about it, hopefully in the next week or so. So yeah, really looking forward to that.
Well, I'm assuming it's our executive jet now.
Yes.
And just a question of time before he brings it into RAF Northolt
Quite right.
locally to me for
where are you going to go,
paint
Nev?
job and all the rest of it.
Where are you going to go?
I don't really mind where we go, actually. Yeah, anywhere you like. No, good for him.
Well done.
He
Well
kept
done,
that
Armando.
very quiet. There was only a few people that knew what was going on there.
Yeah,
but,
it's the hardest secret I've ever had to try and keep. It's just been horrible. And then and you two would both go like, oh, you know, I haven't heard from Armando for a bit, and I'm going, love it.
But no, the boy done good.
He did.
The boy done good.
Yeah,
But I might tell you one of the things, right, about I've been watched a few of the Mr. Beast videos now. They're how do I put this? They're very busy videos.
Yeah, they are. They are quite
very
hectic. Hectic FM, we used to call it on the radio.
Honestly, you know, I don't know, John, whether you've heard of that particular character from YouTube.
I learned about it through my son, so who's just turned 13. I'm fairly certain that we are not the demographic.
No, and I think that's one of the reasons why it's because it, you know, that was 100 days crammed into 30 minutes, wasn't it? That was essentially what happened there. And when I looked at it, I thought it would be in like 4 or 5 parts, if you see what I mean. But I suppose that's the thing, isn't it? The audience that it's aimed at is used to like shorts, as they call them, aren't they? And they're not gonna watch it all the way to the end. So, but you know, do you know what? I'd love to have like the director's unedited like sort of cut. I bet that would be fascinating, absolutely fascinating.
It was fun to watch.
It was, yeah.
So let's have a look and see who has joined us for this evening. Kicking off things at the top of the chat room here. Mazouz is in there. Mazouz Karim. He's got his number 1 crown. He's happy. Neville Pounds, he's got number 2 crown there. But Hobby Time, hello to you as well. Richard Adams, good evening. We've got Flyer152. We know who that is. We've also got John Main says hi. Hello to you, John. Tanya's also in there. Good evening, Tanya. Captain Cruz. Good evening to another episode of Neville Goes for the Crown. Bill is in there as day. Bill says, happy post-RIAT, everyone. It was a busy show this year. Darren's also in there. He's currently at Aberdeen Airport. Waiting for a A321 back to Heathrow. Nev, he's in your neck of the woods there, where you've been about 1,000 times.
He's in seat 22 Bravo, though. This is the area that I recognise.
Where I can say, whereabouts is that in the plane now?
That's where the APU is.
Is it right? Noisy then, yes.
Noisy, yeah, exactly. Dirk S., hello to you. Good to see you in there. Andrew van der Sarg, evening, everyone, he says. Hello to you. Masha, hello, the lovely Masha's in there. Great to see you in there this week. Hobby Time is in there. Jason Trussell, evening all, he says. Hope we're all good. Thank you for that. Master of None, hello to you. And let me just scroll down, make sure I don't miss anyone else out. Jonathan Warner's in there this week. And this week's competition is all based around Jonathan Warner. And no, he will not give you the answer before we do the question either. We've also got John Jester's also in the chat room. Good to see you in there, John. Always, even though you're hosting as well. And another one, Odysseus of Ithaca. New name there. Not seen that one before.
Exciting.
So welcome, everyone. Don't forget, if you're listening to us as an audio podcast, check us out on YouTube. We're here every week at 7 o'clock on Wednesday nights, recording and broadcasting live on here. So you can join us in the chat room. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified when we are live and recording as we are now. Right, we've got loads to get through tonight, including our competition, which we're going to be running at the end of the show, with a very good question as well for that. It's all thanks to Nev as well, this competition, because Nev came up with the idea for this one, which is this is awesome. We've also got our retro airline ad of the week, and if you are a fan of the DC-10, you will have to stay tuned and watch the advert because it is very, very entertaining indeed. But we've got some commercial news to get through, so if all of the team are ready,
we are, yes.
Let's go.
Has turned on the seatbelt light. Please take your seats and fasten your seatbelts.
And the first story this week comes to us from Turning Left Less, and from Michelle Robson at Turning Left Less. EU finally sets a start date for UK travellers' entry-exit system. Oh, blimey, Nev, I'm not looking forward to this. The whole EU electronic entry and new travel authorisation, like the US ESTA, has been a debacle of the highest order, with endless delays and many airports stating they will not be ready in time. EES is a biometric system that will use photographs and fingerprints for registration or registering travellers from non-EU countries to the Schengen area. You only have to submit them in full first time you enter the area, and the data is held for 3 years. Countries in the Schengen area are Austria, Belgium, Bulgaria, Croatia, Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Iceland, Italy, Latvia, Liechtenstein, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Malta, Netherlands, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, Spain, Sweden, and Switzerland. Finally, they have a start date for EES, but of course it's not as simple as that. Not all airports will come online at the same date. The phased implementation will last until the 9th of April 2026, but we do not know yet when it will start from. From the 10th of April next year, EES will be fully operational at all EU borders. The official start date is the 12th of October 2026, so if you were thinking of booking flights around then, we'd try to avoid the first week or so after that, very least. But so why have they chosen to do it just before the UK half-term? Who knows? Probably makes a few more quid, I suppose. Surely November, one of the quietest months of the year for travel until the US Thanksgiving may have been better, probably. For those methods of transport, such as ferries, Eurostar, that have border on the UK side, the UK government believes there is an adequate provision to reduce wait times. Eurostar expects EES registration to be quick and easy. It will have 50 kiosks across 3 locations at stations for people to carry out the checks. Eurotunnel will have over 100 kiosks and estimate EES checks will add just over 5 minutes to journey times. The Port of Dover will have 24 kiosks for coach passengers and will register passengers in cars using agents and tablets to make sure the process is as straightforward as possible. ETIAS is expected to follow in the last quarter of next year, 2026, and ETIAS is the new travel authorization requirement for the nationals of 59 visa-exempt countries and territories around the world. It will be mandatory to enter to 30 European countries for a short stay of up to 90 days within a 180-day period, and the price has risen dramatically from the original projected €7, which is, what, about £5, Nev? Thereabouts.
Yeah.
It will now cost you €20 for 2 years. So, just trying to think, the US ESTA is, I think it's $15 for 3 years. Yeah, I think it's $15 for 3 years. So
is this a bit like the, as you say, like the ESTA for like in the States and stuff? Is that the nearest we're going to get to? Is it a bit like this? What's the thing that they use where it sort of speeds things up as you go through?
Well, that was the global entry thing.
Yeah.
This is completely different because you've got, it's not one country, although you're going to one continent effectively. It's such a mess. Again, this has been delayed time after time, and they're now saying that not all airports and countries will be ready at the same time, which could be interesting for travelling around, couldn't it? So I give up. I think they've made such a mess of it, and they just need to pick a date and tell everybody they've got to be ready by that date, which is what they've done here. But this date has been pushed back 3 times already, to my knowledge. So let's see what happens. But once it's up and running, it should be fine. But it's this sort of interim stage, isn't it? There's always the problem. So we'll have to see.
Do you remember, Nev, cast your mind back years and years ago when we used to have to fill out those embarkation cards before you landed at certain countries?
Oh, yes, the landing cards, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were a joy.
Well, yes, and you don't want to answer the questions incorrectly either, because that is an immediate turnaround and back on the next flight. So anyway, I hope they get it sorted out, because it's a nightmare otherwise. So, yeah, let's see what happens. It's what's it, April 2026? They're talking about, aren't they now? So yeah. Yeah, 10th of April 2026, which is not that far away. So let's see how we do.
Yeah, I think you guys do things a little bit easier then in the US, John, with the ESTA.
I'm still personally embarrassed by the US system and the whole Estes thing and all the fingerprinting and photos you got to be taken. And I mean, it's not like there's not a device.
Oh, okay, not quite sure what's going on there. Sorry. Bear with. I'll see if I can get them back again. It's going to be one of those days, isn't it? What is going on? Bear with me a moment. Just got to wait for it to come back. So bear with. I'm just going to pop the graphic up
For people to comply with, but
just waiting on the connection to come back. So just bear with me.
on either side, honestly.
Apologies, guys. The connection went again for some reason. Not quite sure why. The last thing we heard was you saying, John, that you were embarrassed about the system.
Yeah.
Bear with me a moment. I'm just trying to get. I don't know what's going on. Bear with me. Just trying to get it back. It's very unusual to have problems like this. Bear with.
They want John to be talk about the dream lifter, so we might have to have a little chit chat later on.
Yeah,
if you're happy with
pictures.
Just
if I can zap some pictures to you, maybe you can put it in there.
Yeah, we can do that. Right, just bear with me a moment.
I can drop them in the folder if you like.
Yeah, okay, lovely. Yeah, okay.
You ping to me, John.
If you so John, if you can just talk, just for a moment, so it switches to you.
Okay, I'm here.
Lovely.
Again.
Okay. So, and if I can get you to sort of pick up where you're saying, because you said that the last thing we heard was that you were embarrassed. If you say that bit again and then carry on.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed by the whole U.S. system that we send everybody that's not from the U.S. through the photo fingerprint line, and it takes forever. It's not like there's not a automatic way that you can transmit the data between the countries that could be all done ahead of time, so that you're coming in and screening it, and cameras that recognize people automatically, and there's the fancy chips in our passports that are supposed to have all the biometric data. All that stuff could speed it up. I just don't see that this new system or the S system we have in the U.S. really is a good security benefit to either set of countries to protect it. So I think it's just a bit tit for tat now, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I agree, John. I think the other thing is you have to fill out all the passenger information anyway ahead of when you're flying, so the authorities know who's coming into the country.
That's very true.
Before the flight leaves the origin, and it's a requirement of the airline to make sure that all passengers have got the advanced passenger information in there. So yeah. Anyway, we will see, won't we?
We'll see. Now, Matt, you've got some good news for potential pilots in the UK. But I tell you what, when I just looked at this story and looked at the course fee, I think I nearly passed out.
Okay, all right then. Aero.uk is the source on this one, and the headline is Ryanair to train 400 new pilots in the UK. Ooh, interesting. Up to 300 Boeing 737 MAX 10 aircraft deliveries will propel Ryanair to 300 million passengers by 2034. The airline needs a steady inflow of new pilots to support its ambitious growth strategy. A flight school program in the UK will give the Ryanair access to 400 new hires over the next 4 years. Ryanair launched its Future Flyer Academy pilot training program in partnership with UK-based flight school Skyborne Airline Academy. Skyborne will train over 400 aspiring pilots who will ultimately join the airline group as second officers over the next 4 years, Ryanair said. While Skyborne has trained Ryanair pilots before, the new programme will combine initial training with the typewriting qualification to fast-track pilot training progression. While Ryanair guarantees its flight students a second officer job upon course completion, the fine print will apply, and the airline will not cover any parts of the £131,400 course fee. Wow. Our Future Flyer Academy training programme will provide Ryanair with a steady pipeline of talented and professional pilots from around Europe to meet the needs of our growing network. Captain Paul Kelly, head of Ryanair crew training, said this enhanced programme has a proven track record of providing us with highly trained cadets. Now, I mean, that number is eye-watering. There's no two ways about it. But I guess the only thing is and I still think this is unbelievable, and John, correct me if I'm wrong, but very few companies, if you like, pay for the pilot's training anyway. Or is that not correct?
I think that in the US market, training on type for that airline is all paid for now.
Right.
You pay for everything beforehand. You get hired by the company, and then they're responsible. I think some of the regionals are still having a contract signed to remain with them for a year or two, depending on what they think. But that sort of pay for your own training thing died. Wow, in the 90s here. I mean, just because of the competition.
I mean, I know. I think the typewriting thing. So I mean, because I guess when you finish one of these courses, for example, have you been typewritten on a particular aircraft, or are you just basically dealing with the basics, and then
you're type specific. When you go through training for an airline, you're going to be type specific. Currently, there's sort of a 2-phase. If you're brand new to the airlines, you don't have an ATP, which is the top level license. Then you're going to go through an ATPL course, which is in theory generic, but oftentimes going to be done in the simulators for the aircraft you're going to fly anyways. And then you're going to go through a type rating specific course, which is 8 weeks or so, generally speaking, maybe a little bit less, of training between the ground school and simulator training and stuff like that before you get out onto the line. So, and that's what you would do for your job. And then every time you switch aircraft types, then you're going to have to go to another training course, and then that's getting always paid for by the airlines.
Wow. Okay. I just say I'm not sure whether that is because I mean we know someone who was going through it, don't we, Carlos? Who had more or less secured themselves a position with EasyJet, and then at the last minute the plug was pulled. But he'd paid for everything to do that, and that was the end of his flying journey because he basically run out of money.
I think you need to start young and win the lottery.
Well, there is that.
That's the advice that I give.
Yeah.
Or win the lottery at least.
Yeah,
regardless of age. I try every week, but.
Well, yes, quite ever hopeful.
Oh dear. Anyway, Nev, you've got the next one, and good news for Spirit Aerosystems.
Yeah, it is. It's on ukaviation.news, and it says that Airbus has agreed an additional support package for loss-making Spirit Aerosystems worth $94 million, bringing the total financial support to $152 million. Well, Airbus took control of parts of Spirit Aerosystems, which makes components for its aircraft, including the Airbus A320 wing factory in Belfast, Northern Ireland, which was the former Short Brothers factory, with Boeing also taking on parts of Spirit Aerosystems. The financial support from Airbus comes in the form of advance payments for aircraft parts, but as the caveat that the support is only to be used on Airbus-related activities. The Spirit Aerosystems factory in Belfast, which is split between Boeing and Airbus, has recently seen its loss increase from $338 million to $506 million. According to its latest accounts. It had hoped to sell the remainder of its operations, such as the A220 mid-fuselage sections and engine nacelle production for Rolls-Royce, to a third party, but as none have emerged, Boeing is expected to take control of the remainder of the site. Financial operations at Belfast are at a critical point, with Spirit Aerosystems Holdings withdrawing its letter of support that the Short Brothers site relied upon in the previous financial year to hold off fears of insolvency. Boeing has said it aims to lead the Belfast operation back to financial stability, saying it will be good stewards of the business, which will be a relief for the hundreds of workers employed there. And that site is a very large employer in the province, because a bit like so many other companies, if you work there, your son is probably going to work there, and it's a very much a family type business, and the number of people that work there. As I say, it's a really important employer, right next to the shipyard for Belfast. So let's hope they can work that out, because that's a big moment.
Yeah, jobs important these days because they are thin on the ground.
They are.
Next one is for you, John, and this is an update, I think, isn't it, on that Jeju crash?
Turn my mic back on, I'll work better. So, it says breaking aviation news and videos on X. A Jeju Air plane crash at Muan International Airport that killed 179 people in December has been linked to pilot error, according to a released interim report on the air disaster. The Aviation and Railway Accident Investigation Board presented its latest report to the victims' families, which it concluded that pilots mistakenly turned off the left engine, not the engine on the right side of the airplane, which was severely damaged by a bird strike minutes before the plane made an emergency landing. The investigation board said it came to this conclusion after seeing the plane's two engines, sending the plane's two engines to Paris in May for detailed analysis by the manufacturer. Investigators said no defects were found in the engines. According to the findings, instead of shutting down the damaged right engine, the pilot switched off the working left engine, which resulted in a complete loss of engine power and main power to the aircraft, interfering with the operation of the flight data recorders, control room voice recorders, I think they mean black boxes, and landing gear. The Jeju Air Pilots Union also issued a strong statement against the investigation board and its report, saying it staunchly opposes what it called malicious attempt to focus blame on the pilot. According to the interim findings, the pilot also reportedly deviated from standard protocol following the bird strike during the approach. Instead of continuing the landing, they reportedly executed a series of irregular maneuvers and attempted a hurried landing in the opposite direction on the same runway, GB News reported. Okay, well, they were going around when because of the birds, when they hit the birds. I think that they were doing that as a protocol. I'm not sure if that's the case or not, because again, it's not been spelled out yet. But it seemed that they had gone around and then they hit the birds. That's what caused, they hit the birds, hit loss of engine power. If they had been hitting the birds on the approach, we would have continued the approach and landed. if we did finish the whole fire drill, landing and doing it on the ground sounds better than taking it around in the air. Of course, they went around, they lose this engine, they start doing their fire drill or damage drill. And yeah, okay, if they shut off the incorrect engine, of course you're going to make some non-standard maneuvers because you're a glider. And what else are you going to do? There's not really an option to do anything other than maneuver for the runway. And they got down there and, still, the huge aspect of this that's just they're not even addressing in this is that concrete almost bunker they had down there holding up those the antenna. And they don't have solid data to show they did get the incorrect engine. It sounds like they're making an assumption based off of what they saw. But if the recorders didn't record it, they don't know for sure. I don't see that being said here, so I still kind of want to withhold judgment on this because it just doesn't seem to be enough data to make a decision. So
yeah, we're definitely short of information, aren't we, John, on this? And I just wonder whether, obviously, shutting down any engine is a big moment. But I mean, there have been a history of things like this before, and I'm thinking specifically of the British Midlands 737-400 that landed short at East Midlands Airport because the pilot shut down the incorrect engine. And actually a contributory factor to the Paris Concorde crash was the flight engineer shutting down number 2 engine without any reference to the captain whatsoever. And there's a lot of sort of cockpit protocol, isn't there, about making sure that you are shutting down the correct engine?
Yeah, I spent the day going through engine fires, failures, two engines failing on one, on the plane. We do everything slow and methodical, and I have always, after gaining a little bit of experience, become quite irritated with airlines and regulators that force memory items on a corporate jet or larger type aircraft, because I think that the chances are that any of those aircraft are far in excess, have far enough power to fly away and not have to do this rapid thing. Most of the engine mounts on a jet are designed to burn off if the fire is uncontained. So the engine just falls away. So, we kind of go like today, we do a 3-engine approach, and then we have to go missed, and they fail a second engine on the same wing. We let it burn until we get up above terrain. So today I was doing the simulator in the San Francisco Bay Area. There's terrain at the far end of the runway. So, I let it burn until we got above about 1,500 feet. And then we ran the drill, shut it down, came back around and landed. But it's like, if you looked at us, we look like we're half dead because we're just barely doing anything. We're doing it very slow, methodical, nothing's rushed. And we had time, but with the 2 engines out in this practice session, the guy that was helping me out, he was taking a drink out of his soda. That's how much time we had because we didn't rush it.
And how many, when you're doing an memory items, for example, for an engine failure or fire, how many items would you be expected to remember?
In the past, like my current airplane, 74, we don't have any memory items now. They're all gone. The closest you can come to a memory item is to put the oxygen mask on before you pass out.
Yeah.
The CRJ I flew, we had 12 memory items total between all the different checklists that were sort of immediate action item things. And in general, let's say if you have an engine failure, you'd say identify, verify, shut down, or feather, depending on if it's a propeller plane or a jet. And there's not too many things you're going to do. An engine reverser maybe coming out, you would identify, verify it, and stow it. these are not really huge items, but if you are under stress, you have a huge, surprise factor, you have a huge cortisol dump, your thinking gets depressed, your hearing gets depressed, your stress levels are high, you have lots of adrenaline. People find things to do, and that's why you have to do all this training. All of our training is desensitization training. It's really what it is. We get thrown into the emergency after emergency after emergency. So, I bet you if I look at my heart rate on my watch during that whole, 3.5, 4 hours in the simulator, I would guess it did not come above what I would normally have for a walk.
Well, okay. Yeah.
Paul Tricker in the chat room, John's just saying the words "because the pilot shut down the incorrect engine" just sounds like they shouldn't even be possible in this day and age. He says, "Why are there no fail safes to stop this happening?"
Yeah, well, one, this is a 737 that was made in the 60s, and they have not changed much at all. Al would probably be a good one to talk to, see what they're doing on the Airbus fleets, or Andy, in terms of that. But we've always had these processes where you're very slow to do everything. Especially engine fires are super easy in a big jet because we got big red lights that light up. Big red light lights up on the in our plane on the fire handle. Big red light on the fuel cutoff switch. We identify the engine. We slowly pull it back to idle. Make sure nothing changes that we don't expect, and then we look down and say, okay, we match it up, and then shut that off, and then we'll finally pull the fire handle. It's a slow process because you should be able to identify if something's happened. I've heard stories of guys in simulator, especially the new folks, and they'll be tripping over one another, trying to go through it super fast, and they'll like, okay, number one, identify engine to idle, so they pull back the number one engine. Two, number two engine fuel cutoff. Well, then they cut off number two fuel flow. So now they've basically put one engine at idle. Second engine now has been cut off fuel, so they're doing it. And then they're like, okay, number three engine fire hand to pull. And they started to reach for the number three engine. So they would have had 3 out of the 4 engines shut down because one engine had failed because they were rushing. There's that whole process of see it, look at it, verify it, then do it, but do it slow. It's always talk about, like when you first get into the airline world, is wind your watch. Not that the young kids now know about winding watches, but wind your watch, take a sip of your coffee. Any of these kind of things is just a mantra to just, okay, slow it down and make sure that you know what you're doing, why you're doing it, be comfortable with it. Take that deep cleansing breath to try and get some of that stress out of you, and then go forward and go do it. And do it slowly, clearly, and
is that to sort of prevent what can I describe as like a rush or panic decision? To sort of, because it must be very difficult, and I know, I guess it's all in the training and all that kind of thing. But I mean, I'll use tonight as an example. So I'd literally just got home from work. I was eating my tea. I then got messages coming at me left, right, and centre because the radio station wasn't suddenly not putting anything out on any of the transmitters or online or anything, and it was very difficult to stop my brain from going, blah, 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 what, running through all these various scenarios in your head at warp factor 90, trying to work out what it is that, what could have possibly caused what's going on. So we're getting no output. So does that mean the PC's crashed? No, because the presenter can't be heard when it's that sort of thing. I mean, how do you stop your brain from going, panic, especially when you're in a situation like that and you've got literally, people's lives at stake?
Well, that's why we go through weeks of training when we first do the initial training on an aircraft. Because maybe the first day you don't do big emergencies, you might do a small emergency, but after that, you're going to lose an engine, you're going to have a fire, you're going to have a severe damage, you're going to have other stressful things, and you have to read long checklists to go through the process that are complicated. It's all about that desensitization. Look at what the military does when they put people through basic training. They get first to kind of get them all working together, and then when they start doing the training for the actual military fighting stuff, you know, you see all the old movies that they used to shoot live rounds across their heads. Why did they do that? It was to desensitize them for when these big rounds are going to go snapping across their head, so they wouldn't freak out and freeze. It's the same thing in the airlines. That's why we constantly are doing all these failures. Sometimes we're going through and doing multiple failures a little bit to increase it. Sometimes you're generating your own failures because you've rushed it and you've made the wrong decision. And the instructor sometimes will let it go if it goes, just within reason. You're not doing negative training. They'll let it go so that you learn to compensate and make these decisions in a calm, relaxed manner. I had an incident with it was just a hydraulic system that came up and said it was really hot, but it was on takeoff, max weight, coming out of Taipei. So I have, that going for us. We're taking off into thunderstorms all around, so we're immediately dodging thunderstorms right away. It's the third of 3 legs, and it's middle of the night while we're doing this. I've got a new FO in the right seat who's flying. I'm in the left seat, and this pops off. Well, first thing I did was I took the checklist out and I tossed it into the stomach of the third seater and told him to look it up and then stand by, because it was like I had to just fly the plane for a bit, talk on the radios, mitigate what was going on, and I could let the system go, because you just kind of learn how to say, okay, well, I'm overloaded on all this, but the plane needs to get up, the plane needs to get away from the water in this case, it needs to not go through a thunderstorm. Those were all more important than cooking a hydraulic system. I could have cared less of it if it took out the motor at that point. I just wanted to get up and away from the water. And the new FO that was in the back too, he was like all ready to go, spring loaded, and the other captain who flown the first 2 legs stopped him and said, "Hey, no, wait, he's not ready for you." And that's just kind of an experience kind of thing that he could see where I was going, why I was doing it. So it's just a desensitization thing that you go through, this repetitive training. That's why we do this every year, multiple times while we're doing our training workups every year. We also do training in the 6-month period. That's a little bit more relaxed, maybe, but it's also more standard, and you kind of get some surprises there. But again, it's all about the desensitization, calm, slow it down, think it out, talk it out, and be open to what's being said around you, so that you're not making mistakes and rushing.
Wow.
So I'm just watching the chat room. Honestly, if you guys could see the chat room this evening, they are on fire tonight.
Good. Yeah,
on fire. Yes, take things nice and slow. That's I think that's one of the first things I was taught, John, when I first started to learn to fly. When you're doing checks and everything, is take your time. Take your time.
Yeah.
Independent.com is the next one, and back to a place where I like to call home. Pilots commence industrial action with KM Malta Airlines. So the Airline Pilots Association has kick-started industrial action against the national airline KM Malta Airlines. The action comes after an impasse between the union and the airline over working conditions. The Times of Malta reported. Among other things, it's understood the pilots were instructed not to allow passengers to board aircraft until the procedure for refueling is completed, and members are also instructed not to accept any changes to the planned roster until duty time. In a statement, KM Malta Airlines said that following the announcement of a series of industrial actions effective from Monday the 21st of July by its pilots, all KM Malta Airlines flights were expected to operate without any cancellations. Industrial actions planned by the pilot community may in some cases cause some flight delays, but are not expected to cause any flight cancellations. Passengers, as always, are advised to check in as normal for their planned flights, KM Malta Airlines said. KM Malta Airlines apologised to its customers for any disruption which these actions may cause. In a separate statement, the Malta Hotels and Restaurants Association said it strongly condemns the industrial directives issued by the Airline Pilots Association against KM Malta Airlines, which are already causing delays and operational disruption during the peak of Malta's critical summer tourism season. At a time when Malta is welcoming thousands of visitors daily and the tourism sector is operating at full capacity, these actions by pilots are irresponsible, unjustified and harmful to the national economy, they said. Tourism remains one of Malta's most vital industries, directly supporting tens of thousands of jobs across the hospitality, transport, catering and retail. Any disruption to the air connectivity threatens not only immediate bookings and also guest satisfaction, but also Malta's long-term reputation as a reliable and accessible destination. Now, I totally get this. It is annoying and frustrating, but I have to say, after being there so many times and obviously being there last month, KM Malta make up a very, very small part of the flights that come into Lucca Airport every day, which are predominantly made up of Ryanair, EasyJet and Wizz Air. I mean, them guys are flying in every day, multiple flights. KM Malta is a relatively new iteration of what used to be Air Malta. Is a popular airline to fly with, but they are still not as competitive as the prices you can get flying, as I said, from Ryanair and EasyJet, unfortunately. But the industrial action is never a good thing, not when it affects people's holidays, and especially when it runs in the school holidays, which we currently have here in the UK.
Ugh.
I know.
Well, it doesn't seem to bother the French ATC, does it? They seem to just...
No.
Just willy-nilly, off they go. Yeah.
Now, John, you've got the next story, and this has been all over social media this week.
Yeah, I can't imagine why. This one comes from theguardian.com. U.S. airline pilot makes aggressive maneuver to avoid colliding with Air Force bomber. The pilot of a commercial airline has said he needed to make an aggressive maneuver to avoid colliding with a U.S. Air Force B-52 bomber as it landed in Minot, North Dakota on Friday. The SkyWest airline pilot said he had been cleared to land on a trip from Minneapolis-St. Paul to Minot when he spotted a vast nuclear-capable bomber on his right side and was told to go around. Nobody told us about it, the pilot told passengers over the plane's loudspeaker later, according to a video posted on social media. I thought it was a small airplane, like the ones you see at the airport right now doing touch and goes, and he said, turn right. And I said, there's an airplane over there, and he said, turn left. And by the time we read back the clearance, we looked over and saw the airplane that was kind of coming on a convergent course with us. The pilot told the passengers that the safest thing to do was to turn behind the other airplane, given its speed, according to the Minot Daily News. So sorry for the aggressive maneuver, the pilot said. It caught me by surprise, and it was not normal at all. I don't know why they didn't give us a heads up, because the airbase does have radar, and nobody said, hey, there's also a B-52 in the pattern. The pilot described the experience as not a fun day at work. I would think not. A B-52H with the 5th Bomb Wing based at Minot Air Force Base has been conducting a flyover of North Dakota State Fair held around the same time, according to the military officials. SkyWest flight and the Embraer E-175 operated as Delta Connection landed at approximately 8 p.m. Flight tracking data showed the flight on descent before making a sharp right turn, while also showing the B-52 performing ellipses in the area. Monica Green described the atmosphere on board as weirdly calm, despite the unexpected evasive maneuver. Honestly, everyone was weirdly calm. I felt like I was gaslighting myself, like maybe I was being crazy because no one else was reacting, Green told the local news KFYR. We took a really hard turn, and that's when the pilot got on the intercoms and said, sorry everybody, I'll explain everything when we land safely. The way he said it almost sounded like he was insinuating that landing safely might not be an option for the moment. We were all just kind of looked at each other and stayed quiet. I think we'll kind of just pass on the rest of this. It's a pretty long story. Yeah, I saw some of the video of this, and I would think coming face to face with the B-52 would be an event in one's life that one will not forget. That is a very large airplane.
Dirk Guest makes a good comment actually in the chat room, John. You might be able to answer this one. Is that he asked whether the B-52s would have a TCAS system installed?
That is a question I honestly do not know.
I mean, obviously,
I'd say like 100% sure that they could tell somebody else was out there if they had their normal crew, full crew out there, because they have electronic warfare to look for stuff like this. But I don't know if they have TCAS. I would not be surprised if they did. That would make sense, just because they play in the same airspace as us. But I don't know for sure. Now, yeah, the whole question is like, why did their system not go off on the Embraer 175? Because all they need is a transponder to cause that to kick off. But hey, see things, don't hit it. Major success. I'm fairly certain his brain was going about 1,000 miles a second trying to make some very calm sounding statement in his head. And yeah, from what I heard, especially at least that one on the ground, I'll give him my tip of the hat. He handled that well as making an announcement about it for what that was. Because yeah, there'll be definitely some reporting. I was just looking while we were coming into this. Not the NTSB had announced that they're going to do any kind of investigation, and I don't see anything. But I hope that they possibly would get involved in this. Like that seems to be a bit of a mistake there. That was something that could have been done to avoid this event.
Jonathan Warner in the chat room says that he'd be more than happy to become face to face with a B-52 in the air.
Yeah, of course he would.
No. And I find a plane bigger than that, and no, it's still.
Nah, I'm all right, thanks.
Get within 1,000 feet of another airplane is exciting enough, and that's usually not like this where if they're converging co-altitude, that would be. I've had twice now where I've had close calls of this nature. Once in the jet with a small airplane, and once in the small airplane with a military jet. That one was, I can still tell you the tail number on that airplane.
That was close.
To this day, and that's 20-some years ago. And let's put it this way: the number on the plane side of the aircraft is about the same size as the number plate on the back of a car.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
And I could read
eyesight, John.
Well, I could read it from my airplane, so that's how close we were.
I mean, I suppose one of the things that would be rushing through your mind, I guess, at that moment is also like, is this my fault? Do you know what I mean? It's like that sort of thing. Am I the one in the wrong place here, or?
I would say at that point there was nothing like that rushing through his brain. His brain was purely in, don't hit airplane.
Right.
Like, if you're making a roll like that, it sounds like he must have made a pretty aggressive roll and turn. You're not like, did I screw this up? It is purely like, let me not screw this up.
Yeah, fair.
What I'm doing right this second, and execute it as quickly and as aggressively as I can get away with, because that's what you gotta do. I mean, you're gonna follow TCAS, climbing, descending, or in this case, they saw it, they could turn, and you thought that was the safest thing to do. Then good on him for not hitting the other airplane. Because wow.
Yeah, well done. Now, Nev, you've got the next story and sad news for A319 lovers out there.
Yeah, this show is always a bit of an education for me. I didn't even know that the A319 Neo existed, but Airbus is considering discontinuing it, which is the smallest aircraft in the A320 Neo family, due to persistently low sales and shifting airline preferences. The aircraft's limited market appeal, despite its niche strengths, has raised doubts about its long-term viability. Launched in 2010, the A319 Neo has garnered just 57 orders, with notable customers like Tibet Airlines and Air China. Its relevance is further challenged as airlines favour favour larger, more fuel-efficient models like the A320 Neo and the A321 Neo across key hubs including Beijing Capital International Airport and Chengdu International Airport. The A319 Neo's limited success is closely tied to evolving airline fleet strategies that prioritise higher capacity and better operational economics. Whilst the aircraft shares the advanced engine technology of the A320 Neo family, its smaller size limits per seat cost efficiency. High operating costs per passenger and the preference for versatile models like the A321 Neo have steadily eroded demand for the A319 Neo. These larger variants offer better economics, especially on routes requiring more seats or premium offerings, reflecting current airline priorities worldwide. Well, since its introduction, the Airbus A319 Neo has struggled to attract global interest, with only 57 aircraft ordered, the lowest amongst the A320 Neo family. In comparison, the A320 Neo has over 4,000 orders and the A321 Neo exceeds 7,000. While nearly half of the A319 Neo orders stem from Chinese carriers such as Tibet Airlines, Air China, China Southern Airlines and West Air. These airlines leverage the A319 Neo's capabilities at high-altitude airports where thin air and short runways present operational challenges. Spirit Airlines, a key North American customer for the A319 Neo, marked a turning point when it cancelled all 31 of its A319 Neo orders in 2023. The airline opted for larger A321 Neo aircraft to align with its growth strategies and network evolution. The significant shift echoed broader industry trends favouring aircraft with higher seating capacity and improved unit economics. The cancellation wiped out over half of the A319 Neo's existing commercial commitments, underscoring its declining market relevance. So that's quite interesting. I never even knew the A319 Neo was a thing, but with only 57 aircraft sold, it may not be for much longer.
Never flown on one, Nev. I mean, I knew of the 319. I always assumed that all the 319s were all geared up for VIP kind of, charter.
I'm pretty sure that EasyJet had a couple, didn't they, at one point?
I think, they did have.
Yeah, I don't think they had many.
Their ones now.
Yeah, I suspect so. But yeah.
Well, they had 319 Neos. They had 319.
Yeah. Oh no, not the Neos. No.
Now I've been to Chengdu a few times, and it was full of these 319 Neos from the Tibet Airlines. But Tibet is a lot of high altitude airports, so I think that's why they prefer that aircraft. So.
Yeah, EasyJet have 82 in service, but they are going to be retiring them by the end of 2027, being replaced by the A320 Neo, but they're using the old A319-100s, the older, not Neos. Yeah. There we go. Next story is all from the aviationweek.com, and in-flight incidents prompt Airbus to look at the A380 slat bonding defects. So Airbus is investigating a bonding defect found in the structure of the A380 slats after in-flight events, and a recent report by French Air Accident Investigation Bureau says in 2023, the BEA started a high-profile investigation on approach to Nice Airport, which was one of the incidents that happened back on August the 18th, 2023. An Emirates crew heard a muffled noise, felt vibrations, and that happens as the pilots were switching to the Config 1 configuration, or Conf 1, which extends the leading edge slats. The crew continued the approach. On landing was uneventful. On the ground, slat number 2, located on the inboard wing on the right-hand side wing, was found severely damaged. Some industry players suspected a mid-air collision with a drone. In their report, BA investigators ruled out the possibility. The structural issue is a minor one, but must be resolved anyway. So far, it has puzzled Airbus experts. Damage included torn upper and lower skins on the trailing edge over around 2/3 of the slat. The honeycomb structure was partly missing. BEA initially classified the occurrence as an accident given the altered performance of the aircraft and that such damage might cause, the report said. In the report, in the following 7 months, the 3 other A380s operated by Singapore Airlines experienced similar damage. During subsequent examinations, the BEA observed deformations that did not indicate an impact on any of the 4 aircraft. The investigators then looked into production processes of the metal sandwich composite structure. They couldn't find any deviation or problem in the production of tracking files at Belgium-based supplier Sonica. Yet they identified bonding ruptures between the honeycomb and the skin of the slat trailing edge and associated them to bonding defects. Airbus is continuing the analysis in the framework of continuing airworthiness and under the European Union Aviation Safety Agency's supervision. Moreover, the airframer plans to issue service bulletins to the A380 operators in January of 2026. It will introduce repetitive inspections during maintenance checks for possible cracks or delamination. Meanwhile, BEA has found that the damage process and the main part of the slat remains intact and that only fragments from the trailing edge can separate from the rest of the structure, the report says. Moreover, Airbus conducted simulations that showed damage does not create a loss of lift that could affect safety margins, and BEA therefore reclassified the event as an incident. Now, I'll tell you what, one airline is going to have a lot of inspections to do, and that'll be Emirates, who have a lot of Airbus A380s in their fleet.
I mean, they're saying this is not an it's been downgraded as an event, but I have to say, looking at that picture there, it doesn't fill me with huge amounts of confidence.
No. No, it looks like it's been chewed.
It does.
Someone's had a good gnaw.
I presume they wouldn't have put this report out unless it genuinely wasn't something that we should be worried about. I mean, your thoughts on this, John?
Stuff breaks on airplanes, stuff falls off on airplanes. I just had a slat come apart, looked a lot like that.
Okay.
Not slat, a spoiler, and it was about half the spoiler was missing when I landed. So the plane overall really didn't care. I cared because it shook the airplane a whole bunch.
Yeah, I bet.
And when I put the spoilers up, but it's going to happen. I think it's best that they obviously look at this, figure out why this is occurring, correct it. If there's a replacement time frame, it needs to be implemented, and do the thing. So, not a big thing. It's not a main part of the wing.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I sound like an old pilot now, so I feel like an old pilot now talking like this. But I mean, that's kind of the way it is.
It's one of those, isn't it? Don't worry about it. It's only mildly structural. It's fine. It's only mildly structural.
Was it John Cleese little skit where he was like, "The wing is not on fire." I say again, the wing is not on fire. Well, just to mess with the people in the back.
Fair, yeah.
Up front, you just get used to it. You just fly the plane until it stops, and then.
Sorry, all I've got going around in my head now is the dead parrot sketch. That's all. That's all I've got going around in my head. Oh dear.
Right, now a few weeks ago on the show, we covered a story that was concerning an airport. I think it was it Edinburgh and Neville? I can't remember. Was it Edinburgh or Aberdeen Airport that were going to pay their staff extra money for dobbing people in for oversized bags? I think it was.
Yes.
I think it was one of them. Yeah, but Matt, this they've obviously caught on to this because yeah.
Well, you might expect that this particular airline might pounce on any opportunity for a bit of extra revenue. BBC.co.uk is the source for this one, and the headline is Ryanair mulls bigger bonus for spotting oversized bags. Now, the key to that headline there is it says Ryanair mulls bigger bonus. So that would imply, perhaps, that they already get a bonus for doing such things. Anyway. Oh, they do. Oh, right. Okay. Oh, sorry. There was me trying to be all cryptic now. Okay. The Ryanair boss, Michael O'Leary, has said that the airline is considering increasing a bonus it pays to workers for identifying passengers with oversized bags. Staff currently receive €1.50, that's £1.30. Oh, God, is it really that bad now? Ooh, if they intercept customers who are trying to bring bags that are too large onto a Ryanair plane. We're determined to eliminate the scourge of oversized bags which delay boarding and are clearly unfair on over the 99% of our passengers who comply with our baggage rules, said Ryanair in a statement. Mr. O'Leary told RTE's Morning Island, we're thinking of increasing the bonus, to stop people from bringing oversized bags on board. Ryanair said oversized baggage fees are only paid by a small minority of passengers. Our message to those 0.1% of passengers is simple. Please comply with our generous bag rules. I mean, I don't know if I can carry on, Nev. Generous bag rules, or you will be charged at check-in or at the gate, the airline has said. Mr. O'Leary said that his airline was already struggling with that amount of baggage taken on planes. That's one of the reasons why we are so aggressive about eliminating the scourge of passengers with excess baggage. He added, the chief executive said that over 99.9% of passengers follow the baggage rules correctly and referred to sizes located within the airport that can measure bags. We are happy to incentivise our staff with a share of those excess baggage fees. Yeah, whatever. You get £1. What is it? £1.30 for doing it, and I dare say that the oversized baggage fee is probably in the £50 mark, I would imagine. Anyway, which we think will decline over the coming year or two, he said. Ryanair passengers can be charged up to £75. £75 for bringing a bag larger than the size they paid for while booking their flight through, though the fee depends on the route and travel date. I mean, there is one argument to this in the fact that if they didn't make it so expensive for you to put something in the hold in the first place, more people might be inclined to use that. Because it is quite expensive I get you have to pay for it because I get there's a low cost airline and it's we refer to them as the buses of the skies, don't they? So for the vast majority of people who are just going to Dublin for the weekend or something like that, then a little overnight bag is fine, isn't it? But if you're going for a bit longer, if they didn't make
it's definitely one of them things. If you do it at the time you book it, if you book ahead, book the flight with the baggage hold included, it's X price. But if you add on later on in the booking process, or when you get to the airport, if you decide that you want to check a suitcase into the hold, then the price is you need to start contacting your mortgage company. But it's one of those things, and like we said before on the show, that when you go online nowadays, everyone's got access to the airline sizes and what their regulation sizes are, and there are companies out there who do produce wheelie cases which are set or the perfect size to fit with the three major airlines that we all use in the UK, which is Ryanair, EasyJet and BA. Obviously Nev knows all about that. So there we go. Right, now Nev, we are going to go back to a sort of the heyday, I would say, of commercial airline travel. And having watched this video last night when I picked it to go on for this week's show, it really did open my eyes to exactly how spacious things were back then.
Yes, you've got to be a certain age to know that this was a year after the big fuel crisis happened. But this week we do head back to 1974 and take a look at Sabina, who at the time operated the McDonnell Douglas DC-10. Here we go.
The DC-10 is here. The McDonnell Douglas DC-10, powered by General Electric. A better way to fly. On board the Sabina DC-10, you'll find the space you need. You'll notice from the moment you go aboard, handy space for your hand baggage, hang-up space for your coat, even space to walk around, as if you were in a house with separate rooms. One room for first-class passengers, and 2 big comfortable rooms in economy class. Sabina's DC-10 has all the space you need to relax to your choice of music, to enjoy a little traditional Belgian hospitality. To eat as if you were in a 4-star restaurant.
Bon appétit, monsieur.
You've even space to stretch out and sleep in comfort. The DC-10 is probably the quietest jetliner you've ever flown in.
Sir, we are landing.
It's a better way to fly. Sabina's new DC-10. The space plane.
Wow. I mean,
Go Belgian.
we were talking about like the spaciousness of the cabin area.
Yeah, there's a few comments in the chat room. Richard Adams is saying, leg room. This must be a really old ad. Actually, Master of None, as noted, I think I saw this. Master of None is saying vents, air vents in the seat backs.
Oh.
That's pretty cool. I didn't notice that, actually.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Master of None also says there is something to be said for aviation nostalgia, and he wishes could go back to experience. I think we all wish that we could go back to those kind of days when the larger commercial airlines had seat cushions that were more than an inch thick.
I mean, and also these, although this is on the short haul sectors, a lot of the airlines, I know EasyJet has, and 1 or 2 others have gone for these new Recaro seats, which are quite thin, I have to say. And if you're of a larger frame like I am, that can be pretty painful on an hour-and-a-half flight, let alone a 4-hour flight to the Canaries. Yeah. So no, we won't be going back there, unfortunately, because we've all moved on to the low-cost model, and even on the transatlantic sectors, single-aisle aircraft, and we'll be seeing some more all-economy going on, I'm sure, at some point. So yeah.
Do you think they'll complain if you bring a cushion, Nev?
Inflatable cushion, I think.
Yeah.
New listener, David Bone, in the chat room says Sabina really were ahead of the game in terms of cabin and views on the future market of air travel. Their charter division, Sobilair, not so much from the same mould, he says. So, yeah. Never flew Sabina. Never, did you ever
I did Sabina? Once, I think, from Brussels to Heathrow, so just a short haul. I think it was a 737-200. I think it was, or maybe a 300 back in the day. So yeah, in the mid-80s.
Yeah, so, it's good. I do like these nostalgic looks back at the older times when things were a lot more. I mean, look at the meals they had then. They had actual meals,
Well, and also people dressed up, didn't they, to go on the aircraft?
Yeah.
I think that went out the window some time ago.
Yeah.
That's
cutlery too, like actual not wood.
Unfortunately, the only people who dress up to go on board aircraft now are people like you, John, with the your shirt and tie and
your uniform,
your trousers. Yeah,
well, that lasts about as long as it takes me to get to the top. So the tie's gone, but
derobed by the time you've got to the fair.
Yeah, I'm guessing, John, you don't really have to bother about greeting passengers or saying goodbye and thanks for flying with.
No, I have to be reminded to do that. We literally have a whole separate guide when we fly passengers, just to remind us on the niceties of passenger announcements and what we should say, and doing the announcements for the flight attendants that they'll be seated at the right time. So we literally go cover that every time we fly a passenger flight. So
love it. Right, Nev, you've got the next part of the show to introduce, and it's a nice little look at a meetup, a lot of mini meetup that happened a few days back.
Yeah, it was. A couple of weeks ago, you may recall that Captain Al went to Hamburg to collect his first A321 XLR from the Airbus factory. And our loyal listener, Captain Cruz, also lives in Hamburg. So I connected the two fellas up and said to them, why don't you see if you can find a way of meeting up when Al flies out to pick up the second aircraft, which was last week, I believe. So Captain Cruz and Captain Al took the time to get together. Of course, food and drink were involved, because they always are. And let's have a quick look at what happened.
So hi guys, and welcome to you all from Hamburg. I'm here with a viewer, Stefan.
Hi guys, how are you?
Okay, so Stefan, tell us a little bit about why you enjoy watching Plane Talking UK.
I enjoy watching Plane Talking UK, first of all because it's on a Wednesday now. I used to watch it on a Friday as well. It's very nice and crisp. It's very clearly delivered, and it's a lot of fun and a good interaction with the crowd.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for dinner this evening. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Great
and a joy to meet you.
Thank you.
Back to you guys.
Oh, I love that.
Oh.
Yeah. Thanks, Stefan. Very, very nice of you to say some nice words about the show. And thank you for being such a fantastic listener and making some brilliant contributions as always. And it's great that you got to meet up with Al as well.
Yes, it is always a treat to meet up with Captain Al. That is definite.
The stories. Oh my goodness. I'm still getting over the last visit.
Oh my word, yeah.
I quite enjoy his, when we're talking, he says, Nev, this is not for broadcast, and I shouldn't really be telling you this.
Yes,
and
yes.
Then,
yes.
Yeah.
And we're all suddenly very giddy with excitement.
Right, now we've got some military news to bring it, and also the quiz as well is coming up. But I thought we'd have, because it was brought up in a chat room earlier, and I know that a lot of you in the chat room are gearing up to quickly ask John some questions, because as we said earlier on the show, our guest tonight, John Jester, was recently having a little trip out on the Dream Lifter, weren't you, John? Which was an exciting thing. I think there was a few questions in the chat room regarding the Dream Lifter. I think one of them was, John, that once someone was asking what the differences are between flying, or sort of the instinctive differences are between flying the Dash 8, the Dash 400, and the Dream Lifter.
Well, the LCF Dream Lifter is not much different than the 400. It's just a lot more drag to it because it's got this huge fuselage up there. The biggest difference is that it's a barn door, and when we're in a crosswind up there, it is that's a big thing that catches pilots off guard. There's small differences. The winglets are taken off. It doesn't make much performance difference. The reason I took the winglets off was because the airframe vibrates so much, which is why I don't like it, because I like to drink Cokes. And if you put a Coke down, it will turn flat in 5-10 minutes from the vibration. And it's constant. You see everything, like every little piece of material that's sort of loose is just rattling the whole time. But, not much else difference. It's just really weird airplane to get on board and have your tail hanging out of your wing when you show up to the airplane. I don't know, were you able to get those other pictures I sent you there, Carlos?
Yeah, Matt should have them in the. There we go.
This is one that was sitting out in front of us, so you can see that tail. That's literally out over the left wing where it's sitting there, and that is a set of wings off a 787 right there, inside the fuselage. So it's an entire set. It's all built up, ready to go bolt onto a jet. And it's able to take that all in the fuselage. And you have, they're just sitting out there. So basically what they've done is they put those two hinges onto the aircraft, and they rerouted all the flight controls so that they can hinge it and swing it around and keep everything working. So normally they would go through the top of the fuselage. That's not the case in this aircraft.
So
they took the APU out.
So how did this come about, John? I mean, this is not normal, is it? To be fair, to sort of like be sniffing around a dream lifter and that.
No, well, the aircraft, the aircraft came about because they needed to move parts around, and they decided to try to attract sales by spreading out where the plane is purchased. So Japan, obviously, they bought a bunch of airplanes there for the two airlines. They do part of the construction, wings in this case. And then Italy got it through, was it Leonardo, the helicopter manufacturer down there. They built part of it. And so that all has to come together. So for a while it was in Everett. It was also started up into Charleston. Now all the manufacturers down in Charleston. So to get the parts there, they're too big to go into regular kind of containers, and shipping would be kind of awkward. Plus you don't want to expose them obviously to the ocean. So they needed something to move it around, and they worked with a couple of companies to come up with this design where they converted these passenger planes into these special purpose cargo carrying aircraft, and then they sent the aircraft down to Evergreen in Taiwan, and they hacked the top off and made that monstrosity.
What's the normal crew complement, John? Is it just a standard, FO and captain and a relief crew, or is it just a two?
Yeah, they normally try to staff it as a 3-person crew. Try to avoid doing 4. I've had to do 4 a couple times, well, at least once, I think maybe twice now, due to length of the flights, and that's kind of miserable because it's a passenger bunk room, so over under setup. It's fairly tight in there, so you're kind of having to shimmy up and balance yourself up onto the top bunk, or not bang your head as you get into the bottom bunkers because you're basically lying on the floor. And there's a seat left over in there that I guess from the airline that had it was a Chinese airline. I think might have been Evergreen that had it. And so you just kind of it's tight space back there. And so we try not to staff it up. I think there was some plane at one point, Boeing wanted to put a set of seats down below so they could move their personnel around there, and that got shot down. And so the bottom, if you maybe show that one picture of the front, it's pretty gutted first class section where it's just a little bit of equipment we have in there. It's oxygen tanks that we use for an emergency, and then a life raft, and some emergency equipment we'll keep down below, and that's it. Otherwise, it's just bare floor down there on what would normally be the first class up in the nose. We even have to put all of our bags up into the upper deck into a closet. So it's very much all about business kind of aircraft. And then that whole back end is just depressurized. There's big holes in the tail to keep it from gaining any pressure or becoming negatively pressurized as we descend. And it's a little bizarre also because you can see the jack screw on the tail.
Oh yeah, with the pictures. So, I think that might show on one of the pictures we've got there what you sent through.
Yeah, so that's the nose up there. So that would be where normally would be your first class seats.
That'd be where Nev sat,
of course.
Yeah. And you could see that's just still got the windows in there, and in that box was the oxygen tanks, and then this is the back. There's rails on the two sides there that these dollies that carry the equipment ride along, and they slide it into place, and then they get locked down in place, and it's just held there. And there are some cameras mounted up all through there, and that's what we use to keep an eye on the cargo while we're flying. And that's how we would, if there was a fire, that's how we would determine there was a fire. So we turn on the lights and look back there. What's interesting is that tail is not sealed at the gap. It just has an air gap there. So you can actually see daylight when it's properly closed and sealed. You can still see daylight coming through the crack.
Oh, wow.
Which...
and I presume is this I guess this part of the plane during flight is not pressurized?
Not at all. No. Now, if you go all the way back to that back part where it starts to narrow back and gets dark, there's on the bottom, there's big holes cut back there. There's probably a foot long, 3-4 inches wide, and there's probably maybe a dozen of them or more back there just to keep the inside from being anything other than the same as standard pressure outside the aircraft.
Yeah.
Question in the chat room for you, John. Hypothetical question from Master of None. And this is obviously based on the looks, I'm guessing here. Would you rather fly the Dreamlifter or the Beluga XL, pretending they are both Boeing jets? I'm guessing this is based on looks.
By looks. That's an interesting question. By looks, I think that the Beluga maybe does actually look a little better. But from a practicality perspective, we carry more, larger stuff, more weight, longer distances. So we do more. And I like 4 engines. So.
And also Dirk S is asking, John, is the LCF a separate typewriting?
No, it's not a separate type rating, although it gets a separate ICAO identifier on the radar. So normal, we would have a B744 or 748 is what the radar tag would be, and on this it's a BLCF.
Oh, okay.
So it does show up differently on radar. So if somebody sees a BLCF, that's what it is on their system.
Master of None is asking, what altitude do you normally cruise at?
It's normally low mid 30s. We might go all the way up to 40 depending on the weight. This flight I did the other day was scheduled to go up to 40 all the way. I think we ended up stopping at 38 just because it just didn't make any fuel sense to go up a little bit higher. And we had a good ride where we were. But it has no real differences other than it's limited at 43 versus 45,000 feet as the max altitude. I think that's more of its ability to get down to a breathable altitude than anything else.
And Bill is asking, where is the rear pressure bulkhead located? Do you enter in the pressure section?
We enter in the pressure section. We enter at door 1 right, and the pressure bulkhead is essentially just behind door one right or 1 left. They've built a pressure bulkhead. It's just a mass of metal plates and reinforcement there to hold that all in place. And then you're back into the depressurized cargo area.
And we'll end this with the comment from our new listener, David Bone, says, this is quite good. The Beluga has the correct mix of engineering brilliance and comical appearance. I think that's quite well said there. Thank you, David. Right. Thanks for that, John. And we are going to move on to the next part of the show, which is Mr. Warner's favourite part. And as I said earlier, we have got a competition coming up after this as well to win an awesome prize. So if everyone's ready, let's do some military news.
What's up, Bogies 13550, Angel 16, heading 340. Okay. Undersea Boogie.
So this first one comes from the UK Aviation News .royal/Royal International. Lots of things there. It's a big website. And this weekend, we obviously saw the return of the International Air Tattoo at RIAT at RAF Fairford in Gloucestershire. A bit of a damp weekend, I think, for those who went there will know. But a bumper crowd for this year's event, the Royal International Air Tattoo, which took place at RAF Fairford in Gloucestershire, saw bumper crowds this year with over 175,000 people attending over the 3 days. The crowds were treated to static and flying air displays of aircraft from 27 nations, with a combined aircraft participation of 227 aircraft. Air chiefs from 41 countries around the globe also attended the event, which saw military forces from across the globe come together. Speaking about the event, Chief Executive Officer for the Royal Air Force Charitable Trust Enterprises, Paul Atherton, said that we were delighted to welcome so many people to RAF Fairford this year for the Royal International Air Tattoo. As always, he said, we'd like to thank everyone involved in bringing the event to life, from the visiting crews to our hosts at the United Air Force Base and our volunteers, and of course the visitors. Plans for next year are already underway, and I look forward to sharing them in the coming months. The 2025 event also saw several firsts, with the RAF Red Arrows flying their displays using sustainable aviation fuel for the first time, and the RAF's newest AEW aircraft, the Boeing E-7 Wedgetail, making its first appearance at the tattoo, taking part in the Eyes in the Skies theme. In a historic first, the Royal Air Force's E-7 Wedgetail performed its first ever flypast with the Red Arrows. Science and technology, engineering and mathematics, or STEM, also took centre stage on the ground, intending to encourage aviation engineers and designers of the future. This saw astronaut Tim Peake and Countdown's Rachel Riley appearing at the Royal Air Force's Charitable Trust Inspire stage. RAF Charitable Trust Director Dr. Kevin Stenson said he's incredibly proud to experience RIAT 25 empowering the dual purpose of the RAF Charitable Trust, the promotion of the RAF and the inspiration of young people to fulfill their potential in air, space and technology. Highlights for him included the brilliant STEM role models in both Technozone and the Inspire stage, helping tens of thousands of young people to see that STEM is for them. He said, I'm indebted to everyone who supports the Royal International Air Tattoo Weekend, as this empowers the Trust's year-round UK-wide STEM programme, and the Royal International Air Tattoo will return in 2026 from the 17th to the 20th of July. Now, I know a few people who went said they had a really good time there this year, and I know quite a few people have already pre-booked their tickets for next year, because I think from what I've read online they are freezing the price. There's no price change for the tickets for next year's show. But as we know, as we've been a number of times, me, Matt and Nev, it's not just down the road for us, unfortunately, is it, guys? It's a bit of a trek, isn't it?
Not too bad for me, but for you fellas, it's quite a long
it's a bit out of the way.
Yeah.
But it's a great air show for anyone who's not been thinking of it. Next year is, as I said, tickets are already on. And now John, going to give you the next story and electronic warfare for this one.
Yeah, let's cut to flightglobal.com. L3 Harris secures G550 electronic attack contract for the Italian Air Force. L3 Harris Technologies has received a $300 million contract for a program to supply Italy with a pair of electronic attack aircraft based on the aircraft of a Gulfstream G550 long-range business jet. The modified G550 will provide the Italian Air Force with airborne jamming ability with range, altitude, and endurance to disrupt enemy command and control communication radars and navigation systems from an extended distance, the U.S. mission systems provider says. Italy's order represents the first foreign military sales success for a EA-37B compass call system, which is currently entering service with the U.S. Air Force via a program led by prime contractor BAE Systems, Inc. When detailing a possible sale to Rome last October, U.S. Defense Security Cooperation Agency said the overall project could be worth up to $680 million. We will be working on these aircraft and building them with the Italian Air Force in the coming years. L3 Harris Integrated Mission Systems President John Rambeau said while revealing the company's contract at the Royal International Air Tattoo in the UK on 19 July. The aircraft are with Gulfstream, which is currently putting the sensor housing shapes on the outside, he says, being acquired to replace the EA-rolled Lockheed Martin EC-130H's. The U.S. Air Force new compass call fleet will eventually total 10 jets with the 43rd Electronic Combat Squadron on 2 May conducted its first mission training sortie with the EA-37B from Davis Monthan Air Force Base in Arizona. The future introduction of the dedicated electronic attack capabilities will mark further expansion to its G550-based special mission aircraft fleet. L3Harris also is advancing work on 2 examples in the Joint Airborne Multi-Mission Multi-Sensor System, JAMS, configuration ordered in February 2021. Describing that version as a companion aircraft for Iran's future Compass Call jets, Rambo said, JAMS is for passive signals collection so they can work as a team. That's pretty interesting. I think it's a pretty smart choice where they go with these corporate jets that have a very proven track record and the ability to stay up for long periods of time, and they'll bolt on what they need to go make it do other work. Smart choice. Yeah.
I'm also guessing, John, that these aircraft are regularly up at sort of flight level 450 and that kind of thing, so it's suitable for high altitude operations.
Oh yeah, I think G550 can go up to 50,000. Wow. I think it's a ceiling, and depending on how much stuff they've hung on the outside of it, it might probably still retain that mid upper 40s capabilities, which will give them long endurance and long reach over the horizon because of that altitude. And it's commercial, off the shelf, reliable stuff. So not fancy F-35 engines that take lots of maintenance.
Just looking at the price of that contract, though, could be worth up to $680 million. Jeez, that amount of money even exists. Anyway, moving on. I have that in my bank account. I'll definitely like that. We've got a quiz, haven't we, Nev? Someone came up with an idea to have a quiz called Mr. Neville Bounds. And obviously with Riyadh happening at the weekend and lots of photos being took by our chat room family member, Jonathan Warner, who's there every year taking pictures, we've never thought we'll have a competition. And the competition is to win a piece of a Red Arrow, so RAF Red Arrows. It's from, what is it from there? It's from the
X-Ray 310 aircraft. It's a starboard aileron tag.
Yes. So the idea is then to win the tag. It's very simple now. It's not as simple as it really, but it's an ongoing joke that we have every year on the show after Riyadh, and that is how many pictures that Jonathan Warner has managed to take on his camera over the course of his time at the show. Now, we all know that Mr. Warner takes a couple of photos. So our question for all you out there, for your chance to win that tag taken from that RAF Red Arrows Hawk, is how many pictures did Jonathan Warner take at this year's Royal International Air Tattoo? So it could be anything. I'm guessing it's more than 100. Do you think, Nev?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's it for your chance to win that tag. Just send your answers in to the usual email address. It's podcast@planetalkinguk.com. And no, Jonathan Warner, you cannot enter. You're excluded from the competition. But yes, to your chance to win that piece, that cut of that Royal Air Force Red Arrows jet. Get your answers in to us via email. You can send them in, as I said, podcast@planetalkinguk.com. How many pictures did Jonathan Warner take at this year's Riyadh Royal International Air Tattoo? Get your answers in. We'll pick them. Neville pick them out of an aviation themed hat. We'll just decide. We might let it run for a couple of weeks. We'll see. But depends how many answers we get in. But can we give them a clue, Nev? Or is that no?
Do we have the number yet? I mean,
we do have the number. We do have the number.
Wow.
Mr. Warner sent us the number in, so we do have the number. We actually have it as an official screenshot of his camera.
Oh, very
so
good.
it is absolutely genuine official.
Does this include all of the memory cards that he took with him, or was it just the one that was on the the one that was in the camera at the time? Okay.
No, I think we should say that we'll be, rather than drawing out of a hat, will be. The answer is who is the closest to the actual
answer.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Who is the closest? Yeah. Sorry. Yes. My apologies. So whoever is the closest to the figure will win the tag. Yeah. So pick your figure out of the sky, like that one.
So as the American, is this Price is Right rules, closest without going over, or is it just closest mathematically?
Oh, closest mathematically, probably.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So whoever's closest will win. But it's going to be fun to see who can guess the amount. We're not going to give any clues. Nev's already said we're not going to give any clues. But those of you who watch the show, who are regulars of the show, will know that every year Mr. Warner does take a few pictures.
He has been known to take one or two.
But Nev, can you imagine if Jonathan Warner had the old, is it 35 mil?
Oh, 35 mil, yeah, because you were limited to 36 shots on that, weren't you?
Indeed.
So,
that's if you have the compressed roll, wasn't it?
Yes. Well, also, of course, you wouldn't know what you had taken until you got the film developed and it came back from the developer or the chemist.
Can you imagine how many of those plastic sealable bags you'd have to get from True Print?
Yep.
Oh, I see. The number that he's given you was from the computer once he downloaded all of the memory cards. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm quite shocked by the overall size.
Yes. I thought that as well.
Okay. Anyway, we won't. Wow.
Yeah. So there we go. Get your answers in, and good luck to everyone. So there we go. Nev, we are off to a very big air show very soon, aren't we?
Yeah, we're off to Bray in the south of Ireland in less than 10 days' time. And that's it's the actual air show itself is on the 2nd of August. It's the biggest public free event in Ireland. Just go to brayair.display.com and you'll see all the information there. We're currently talking to the press office and Alan White and a number of other people about what we can do there, what we can shoot and what we can bring you. Don't forget, car parking, though, is €12 and you must have a car parking permit in order to park your car. And then on Saturday, the 30th of August, we're off to Beccles for the PT UK summer meetup there. Join us for lunch. So we're aiming to have a 12 o'clock start is what we've worked out. So anytime from midday onwards, come and see us. And there's some very nice food there as well, I seem to recall from last time.
Yes.
Let's hope the weather behaves itself as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, we'd love to see you. And, social media links, Nev. Where can all our awesome listeners find out more about us online and the all-important email address?
Yes, just search the socials, so that's Facebook, X or Instagram for Plain Talking UK. You can email the show, podcast@plaintalkinguk.com, and the WhatsApp number is +44 7446 975 214. Don't forget you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. You'll get notifications when we go live, and you can help shape the conversation of the show by joining us in the chat room, as so many people have done this evening. Just go to youtube.com and search for Plain Talking UK. Remember to give us a thumbs up, to like the channel as well, because that helps push the show out to more people. Obviously, doing this show does have some cost associated with it. If you feel that you can help us at all to offset some of those costs with media hosting costs and server hosting costs and website costs, then we have two methods to do that on the website, either via Patreon or via PayPal. So just go to plaintalkinguk.com and the details are on the website there.
Yes, and thank you to everyone as well, all our patrons and donators of the show. It's much appreciated. Right, that is what we're going to wrap up the show this week, episode 561 of the show. Going to say a big thanks to everyone who's joined us in the chat room this evening. Thank you very much indeed for joining us tonight and watching the show and making the chat room what it is every week. Also going to say thank you to John Jester for joining us this evening and taking time out of his busy schedule, flying freight all across the globe. So thank you, John.
Yeah, thanks. Enjoyed it as always. Glad to be here.
Good to have you. And we'll be back hopefully next Wednesday with a show. And I'm getting ever close to moving home. So this is all getting rather exciting here. So yeah, going to be very, very busy indeed. So that's it for this week. We're going to wrap things up. Thanks, Nev, as always.
Pleasure.
And
Just
Matt as well.
let you know that I'm off tomorrow to see our good chum Logan Lynch, who is flying all the way from... he's going from Las Vegas to LAX to Heathrow, and then they're flying to Venice for a cruise, which him and his wife are going on, which will be fantastic. So I'm meeting them up in London with my wife Sue, and also with Nick and Gilly Anderson as well. So there'll be six
how
of us
lovely!
Going up the Shard.
Oh,
see the views.
Do give Captain Nick our very best, won't you?
I will. Yes, haven't seen the lad for some time.
Yeah,
so it'd be nice
absolutely. Yeah,
so,
very much.
And
so.
also Logan as well. I haven't seen Logan for a couple of years now, so he'll be able to tell us all about Oshkosh, because he'll have done a little bit of that. We've got our own roving correspondent, Captain Al, there with the recorder and the microphone as well. So he's going to do some interviews on our behalf too.
Wonderful! Can't wait for that.
Excellent. And he'll be wearing a PTUK shirt as well.
Good man.
When he's out there.
That's what we love.
So that's it for 561. Thanks for joining us as always this week.
You realise we've got to have a conversation about the 600th now, don't you?
Oh God, no. It's a few weeks off that one.
Yeah, not many.
No, I know. But thank you everyone for joining us this week and sticking with us on the show and downloading the show as well, for everyone who downloads the show as an audio podcast. We'll be back next week. Thanks to everyone, all the hosts and the listeners, and from me, Carlos, here in the home studio, from Matt in the Master Suite studio, from Nev in his glorious studio in Buckinghamshire, and from our guest John Jester on the beach in Miami. Have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you next week. Say goodbye, Nev.
Take care, folks. See you next week. Bye-bye.
And there we are, done. Marvellous.
Excellent.
Well done, everyone.
Well, I hope everybody had a good evening, or whatever time of day it is for you out there.
Yeah, it's coming up on... Where are we? It's approaching 9 minutes to 9 in the evening.
See, it's still daylight there.
Just about, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Although it's definitely getting darker earlier now, because it would be like this until about 9:30 until not that long ago. So.
You're a bit further inland, Nev, so are you dark or are you still light out there?
No, it's still light. Yes, I'm slightly further south than you, so My camera's gone blink again. I must.
Your camera's gone funny again.
Go see what's going on with that. It's very, very strange.
It's behaved throughout the entire show, and then just like at the last
do
minute
that.
there.
That's better.
There we go.
So,
Yeah, let's see who can get the closest figure then to the photos. Oh, this will be interesting.
Yeah, very much so.
Definitely.
Good stuff.
Indeed.
Right. We've already had. Oh, we've already had 1, 2, 3, 4 entrants into.
Love that. Mind you, to be fair, that's a pretty cool prize. A little red arrows tag. That's pretty special.
That is.
That's pretty special, I think.
Oh, I'll tell you what. There's some wild figures.
Wide-ranging views.
There are some definite wide-ranging guesses. But I will say, I'm not going to say who, but I will say that one person so far is very close.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Love that.
Yeah.
Dirk was asking if I live on UTC. Yes and no. Depends on the trip, but yeah, everything we do is in UTC. I look at my schedule in UTC. I always have UTC on my watch, and just to avoid doing public math. But then when we're doing what time we're getting together to go eat dinner or whatever that, we always do that local. So kind of live both worlds, and it's easy for me to adjust for time back home when I want to call the family and stuff. So I'm on UTC.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense, to be fair.
Paul Tricker, what was the date of the meet up at Beccles again? Should be the 30th of August, Paul. It's Saturday, 30th. This is the end of, last Saturday in August, isn't it? Yeah, last Saturday in August. So fingers crossed, the weather will be absolutely spectacular.
Fingers crossed.
And if at all it does fit in with you, John, that'd be awesome if you could make it over. I know you've got a lot of things going on, so possibly not.
Yeah, I got to coordinate with the family there, but it definitely is on my high priority list to try and make it work.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
We could fly in. You can bring anything up to a PA-28 in, if you can borrow one.
Yeah, that'd be the challenge part. Getting that, might have to talk a friend into help me in that category if you wanted to come over. But no, I might talk with you offline to coordinate coming into Norwich and get a pickup there. Maybe.
No, we can definitely arrange
accommodate you there.
Transport.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to drive on the wrong side of the road.
Fair. Yeah.
Not me.
Don't you mean the right side of the road?
The correct.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Right. I'm gonna go and have some tea because I'm absolutely Hank Marvin.
Starving?
Yeah, I am. I can eat an horse, he said.
Well, don't. That's frowned upon. That's frowned upon in many countries.
I know. We're going to say goodbye to everyone in the chat room. Thanks again to everyone for joining us this evening on the show. All the chat room, lovely to have you all in there as always. And as I said, we'll be back next Wednesday, all being well. So, Nev, would you like to sign us off for the evening?
Yep, sure. Thanks to everybody for joining tonight. I hope you have a nice weekend and the rest of the week. We'll be back at 7 o'clock UK time on Wednesday. Take care and bye for now.